Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome to a thrilling new era of Red Eye Radio. He's Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. We are anxiously awaiting our blanket pardons. Gary?
Well, here we go.
Yeah. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
That I will faithfully execute.
That I will faithfully execute.
The office of President of the United States.
The office of President of the United States.
And will, to the best of my ability.
And will, to the best of my ability.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
Preserve, protect, and defend.
The Constitution of the United States.
The Constitution of the United States.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Well, here we go.
Here we go. Do you know it was George Washington that added "So help me God"? Yeah. Interesting, huh?
Really?
Yeah.
What I loved was the left out there. But it's not official because he didn't put his hand on the Bible.
Right.
Because Robert's Russian, his hand wasn't on the Bible.
Right.
Number one, he was president before he ever took the oath.
Right.
You're president at noon.
Yeah.
On the 20th.
Right.
And now the oath is given so then you can do your official duties.
Right.
But you're president at noon.
Right.
Now, we know the Constitution doesn't mean anything to anybody on the left.
Well, it's the last thing the Democrats have, the liberals have, is that he's not really the president. Okay. All right there, Cupcake. All right. Okay. If you say so.
Now, understand that everything yesterday, a lot of talk yesterday, and it's funny because it's what I do for a living, is talk, and it's like, I'm sick of all the talk. Do something.
Wait a minute. We can't stop talking. Everybody, shut up.
It's like, oh, wait a minute. That's your job. Oh, okay. Well, then keep talking. As long as you're talking the right things. And what a day it was yesterday. I think another indication that the left's not going to change is the whole Elon Musk Nazi salute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. I mean, they're so reactionary. I mean, it's like I just wish just for maybe not an hour, that might be too long, 5 minutes that I could do a Vulcan mind meld with them.
Yeah, to find out.
Just to find out.
Just to see.
Yeah, how do they process thoughts?
But I'm going to need somebody on this side to pull the plug if I start screaming in my during that mind melt, like on the Matrix.
Yeah.
Pull the plug if I look like I'm going down.
Right. Or, when you go into another dimension and the one person's holding your feet as you're through that wall.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, hold on, pull me back out.
Yeah.
So I'd want to be pulled back out, but I just wonder, what is it like to have their mind? And I'm saying this in all seriousness.
Yeah.
What is it like to have their mind? How do they process thoughts? I mean, AOC, she was she couldn't stop talking about it.
Right, yeah.
There's the fascist salute of the Nazis.
Yeah. They still don't get it. They still don't get why everyone now just push them to the side as radicals. Look, they still get the votes in their own district. They still get the votes in their own state. But the split is continuing to happen. It's, by the way, about mid-morning on Monday, if you were driving your Tesla while ordering anything from Amazon on your iPhone, I thought, there's Bezos, there's Elon Musk. Oh, is that Tim from Apple? It is. My gosh, you might be right now. It's like no service. Sorry, we'll get to you later. But it's it was interesting because after they moved it indoors, it was like, okay, it's virtually down to a very small audience, relatively speaking. So who's it going to be? Those are the things when there's a still shot, by the way, I forget which publication had it, and it's Trump walking in, followed by Melania, and Joe Rogan is in the audience. He's sitting there and he's looking up at Trump like, oh, man, here we go. And he's just got that very Joe Rogan-esque look on his face. And I thought to myself, the makeup of the room. I talked to a friend later in the day about, the liberals saying, well, we need a Joe Rogan. You had a Joe Rogan.
Said that the other day when you were out. I said that again. It's like, stop it.
And they don't see it. But it was so much coming together, and it was so different than where we were in January of 2017 when he was first sworn into office.
Oh.
Light years.
Yeah. Almost a different person.
Yeah, nobody back then knew who Theo Vaughn was. This time he got an invitation. You know what I mean? And he clearly was rocking the presidential mullet. That was clear. But I thought to myself,
well, I was talking about that Trump.
Yeah.
Okay, but go ahead.
Well,
yeah.
But it's you look around the room, and I think to myself, if you look at companies like Apple and Amazon. These were companies that I don't know if you could throw Tesla in there as much, but certainly back then, run by liberals who were in Zuckerberg and the whole thing. Zuckerberg was the good, soldier when it came to the government coming into Facebook at the time in the summer of 2020. But go back to 2016 and 2017 during Trump's first term and go back to that moment and, all the tech companies, everybody was afraid to move. Nobody wanted to get on board with Trump. Members of his own party, we talked about that. Members of his own party didn't want to get on board. And then you see the room, and it was very different than it was in 2017. There were people there, heads of corporations that never, ever would have come near D.C. on that day, much less actually be there and congratulate him after the fact.
Well, we did address, when you were out on Friday, we did address the whole oligarchy and the tech industrial complex that came out.
Exactly.
And went point by point by point by point.
Yeah.
We actually had a lot of fun with that one. And then that disappeared over the weekend.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I joked that to somebody. I said, "Oh, it's a friend who has in the past. I know they've supported liberals, but I said to them, well, Elon Musk is an oligarch." And I just kind of floated it out there. The conversation didn't carry on. They didn't engage, but I was wanting them to because I knew it was going to come up. There was no doubt it was going to come up. But that's it. Because we talk about the corporations that got on board, and like the whole bathroom thing, the gender bathroom thing. Well, Apple was one of those that was wanted to protest against states, even though they sold their hardware in countries that would, they have much, much harsher penalties against gays and trans.
You mean kill gays?
And killing gays, and yes. And that whole thing. And Amazon, the Black Lives Matter thing. If you look at recent years, how corporations have embraced, they just ran with these liberal agenda items and got on board with these liberal activists, and full stop, not like halfway even. They were on board, full stop. And then you look at inside the Capitol building yesterday, and the lineup standing around him, and things have the mindset has drastically changed.
Oh, and it's driving the left media crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Ilhan Omar just furious. The hypocrisy. He's a fascist. Why are you all there if he's a fascist and Hitler?
Right.
What's going on? Yeah. I mean, we've got so much to talk about today. Trump's inaugural speech, which I liked. And I liked it because there was a seriousness to it. And it's about time we stop with the, at least in my opinion, because maybe I'm just sick of it. I'm sure other people may be, but this fakery that, well, he needs to unite everybody. You're not going to unite everybody together because it's on the issues. One side believes in the Constitution, the other side doesn't.
Yeah.
Let's not fake that. Let's not fake the fact that the other side has ideas that are insane, or in a more mellow way that the president would talk about it, lacks common sense. He said that a lot yesterday. Lacks common sense. I am sorry for the incendiary language of myself there. Let's go to Trump to moderate that a little bit and talk about common sense because he's the great uniter and the great moderator. We did say, though, that on the issues, though, and that's why I think it was great what he did when he brought out all the issues that he talked about, the issues that he believes in actually are more popular than he is.
Right.
And we talked about that last year when the poll numbers came out. But we'll talk about his geez, he only put in a half day yesterday.
Yeah, right.
We'll talk about that, and then Biden, perfect, absolutely he could not have gone out in any other way.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I mean, I was Friday. I mean, I couldn't stop laughing. I now have designated that the Equal Rights Amendment has been passed. It is official. The 28th Amendment. Like, what the hell are you talking about? You and then you had, for example, the vice president, the former vice president. We may make these mistakes for a couple of weeks. You had Harris come out and back him up.
Yeah.
The Equal Rights Amendment is now official. It is the law of the land. Everybody's just roaring, laughing.
No,
it's you people are in your own delusional world.
Right. Well, I got the 29th Amendment, and it says, shut up. Get out.
I mean, it was like, what in the... I mean, and then he put out the tweet, then he's talking about it and mumbling through it.
Right.
And it's just like, this is perfect.
Right.
And he
thinks this is real.
Right. We knew the pardons were coming down.
Well, it was only a matter of when, not if, really, on those.
I mean, when it was going tick, 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 and when it got to be about 11:45, I'm like, And then
way out the door.
There it is.
Right.
There it is, right there.
Yep. We said it was probably going to be the day before, or maybe, and we actually laughed when we said it, or maybe the day of. Right there on his way, literally on his way out the door. And that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, it was 11:38 is when it officially, and by the time I saw it was like quarter two when I was watching it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it was impossible to watch the commentary of it. You know where I actually ended up? On Merit, which is the, what's his name, Dr. Phil's network.
All right, yeah.
I couldn't even handle Fox.
Yeah.
Fox was just like, oh, shut these people up.
Yeah. Right.
You know, just let it, I mean, it just, we'll get into more of it. But it's a different presidency than it was before, much more organized. You already saw that Marco Rubio is
already
in
confirmed.
Secretary of State. Yep. And so
Hegseth passed the committee vote.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
So on to the wide vote. You know, the liberals basically have been really balking on getting a fast wide vote on that. They all want their time on the floor to, make their point and do their little clown show. But it's widely expected on the wide vote that they have the votes now. So, and that would have to come, of course, from his own party, as a result of his own party, getting to that point. So, I don't know how soon that wide vote's going to happen, but in a matter of days. So we'll see. And, I mean, Rubio got was 99-0.
Yeah.
It was Rubio seemed the sure bet from the beginning. And then the others, they just want their time to do their clown show.
And I guess it's 99-0 because he can't vote for himself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Or
he
could,
would have.
or could you?
I don't
know what
think
the
so.
rules are.
Yeah, I don't know. Don't know.
Just see Fetterman. He has hoodie and gym shorts on.
Yeah. Yeah. Freezing cold.
Oh, my God.
Freezing cold. Hulk Hogan was on somewhere on Fox News, and he said, yeah, if Fetterman doesn't want to continue his job in the Senate, there's probably a place in WWE for him. He's going to have to wear the hoodie, but they could probably do well in the WWE.
Curly Fetterman.
Exactly.
We got a great show. I mean, what a zoo it was, especially from the left. We got some great audio on the way. 866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Starting and charging system-related issues are one of the most common causes of winter breakdowns. So when your batteries talk, it's important you listen. Knowing the warning signs that could indicate your electrical system needs attention can help you avoid getting stuck out in the cold this winter. Your truck's inability to crank at the proper speed is the most obvious sign that a battery-related issue is present. If you experience any sluggishness when cranking your engine, get a full electrical system check from a trusted service provider. Continuing to crank a vehicle with low or inadequate voltage will damage the starter and can cost you uptime down the road.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara.
And this is going to be the dawn of the golden age of America. This is the golden age of America, and tonight I'm filled with optimism for what lies ahead over the next 4 years. We will replenish the pride of our armed forces, end the recruitment crisis, and by the way, the recruitment numbers are through the roof in the last 2 months. I wonder why. Why the hell are they you have a little problem with recruitment. That's not good. And now the numbers are higher than they've just about ever. You know why? They love what they see for the future of our country. And they didn't love what they were seeing for the last 4 years. It was ridiculous.
He's going to drive the left nuts.
Well,
he's going to drive them nuts.
Well, it was like it's his speech. He just welcomes everybody and then shreds them. It was like, oh, I didn't know you were going to do that. It was like, again, but it is what you should be doing, because I think to myself, all right, what are you going to do? Are you going to play nice for the sake of the people sitting there? They've destroyed this country. They've done so much damage. Joe Biden has done so much damage to this country. I'm surprised when it was all done. I thought he was going to go further. I thought Trump would probably go further on Biden.
Well, did you hear the reports where he were and Melania talked him out of it?
Oh, okay. All right.
He wanted to hit the pardons and everything from Biden.
Yeah.
The family pardons.
Yeah. Well, you could tell.
They were coming. Yeah.
You could tell. And everybody's looking at that. Look, you've got to point that out. You got to point out where we've been and where we're going. It's day one. He was ready to go to work, hit the ground running. And sorry, you got to recognize what Joe Biden has done and what he's to be blamed for.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio. from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. I got to tell you that one of the best things said yesterday was actually Kevin McCarthy. Here he is on NBC News.
All right.
Here we go. Ready for this? All right.
I don't think that's right.
Is retribution still on the table for this new president?
See, this is the thing that bothers me the most. For the people who are opposed to President Trump, all they talk about is retribution. I have not seen him put retribution into anybody when he has had the power.
But he's talked about it.
But he's talked about it, but I've only seen the other side do retribution to him and everybody else. I will tell you this. 4 years ago, when President Trump left office, everybody who worked for him got blackballed, that nobody could be hired, that nobody could work any place. And then everybody had to go through attorneys. Everybody was getting prosecuted. Everybody was being looked at. President Trump had to go through. And what the Democrats did to President Trump, they helped elect him by prosecuting him, because what they misread with the American public, when they would prosecute him for something they would never anybody else in America, that's when you literally felt across America, this is wrong.
And yet, Mr. Speaker, the president has put in place, or hopes to put in place, somebody like Kash Patel to lead the FBI, somebody who has made a list of people he decries as deep state individuals. Critics call it this enemies list. You heard Pam Bondi, who he wants to be his next attorney general, get questioned about this. How do you square that, what you're talking about here, with the actions that the president's
taking? But what I listen to, too, is that they would follow the rule of law, that they wouldn't put...
Do you believe Kash Patel would do so if he was...
I do believe so, because I know Kash Patel. And, you know, it's an interesting thing. I've watched people sit back and say, I want to go after you because you say you might do something in the future. We live in America, right? You're innocent, proven guilty, but now they're going after this. They will uphold the rule of law. But they saw the other side of this, that people using prosecution against them that wasn't right. I think they'll be more apt not to use it.
I mean, it's the media is going crazy about things that Trump has said but never did when he had the power, yet completely and totally silent and in agreement with the lawfare from the Democrats.
Again, and we've been saying this for years, the only thing they've had on Trump all along is his words. Things that he has said. Well, what has he actually done? You know, this whole thing, the blanket pardons, you know, that says more about Biden. It says more about the Biden family. Everything you need to know right there. Biden's legacy, whether he likes it or not, was created by Joe Biden, and all the damage that he has done, including everything he did right up to the final minutes of his presidency. That's Joe Biden right there. You're not coming at them, Jack. And that's, you know, then the point was made, by the way, all right, but still there's, you know, you can't plead the fifth anymore for any of those people.
Oh, yeah, none of them can plead the fifth whatsoever.
Right.
And the interesting thing about the Fauci one is one of the things that Rand Paul wanted to go after him on was perjury.
Right.
Well, they can call him back, and he's got to answer the same way.
Right. Right.
Will he retract everything that he has said in the past?
Right. Look, you know, the one thing that we have talked about over the years has been people should, if they should answer, no one is above the law. They should answer to whatever crimes they have committed. But in this scenario, the American people deserve the truth. And whatever happens beyond that, we talk about Hillary Clinton. We know what she did. They weren't willing to go after her for it. But as a result of all of that, she ended up not being president. And that's the difference between, you know, what they thought, what the liberals thought they could get away with, and the truth. The truth is always going to find its way to the surface. And the truth about all of these individuals will eventually come out. what can be punished, what can be pursued. Obviously, now that's very limited.
Well, the one thing he did by pardoning his entire family is put a cloud over what we've been talking about.
Yep.
The entire the entire time, and there's a couple of things that we've always talked about that Americans used to hate. Now Democrats are okay with it. Republicans still are against it, and probably Democrats would be against it if it was somebody from the other side.
Right.
But number one is not paying your taxes, and number two, influence peddling.
Yep.
And as we have said, a lot of people probably went, what do you mean? And we know Hunter was involved in some shenanigans, but why is he pardoning his entire family?
Right.
Which hopefully will make people inquisitive to find out and actually look in and see all of the bank accounts,
right,
and how they funneled that money through to enrich the Biden family. Biden just to something that Americans really weren't. They might have been paying attention to Hunter, but the entire family.
Yep.
And this is what we have said. He enriched, and we all. You did see the change in Democrats. Remember when they caught former President Biden lying over and over again about what he knew about Hunter, and he knew everything.
Right,
he knew everything that was going on. Why? Because he helped set it up. None of this, the entire labyrinth of bank accounts and LLCs to move all this money through to his family. Joe Biden knew about it.
Yep.
But the Democrats didn't care. The media didn't care. Using your position as vice president of the United States to enrich your family by making deals with adversaries to the United States was okay with Democrats and okay with the media.
They were all right with it.
They were okay with it.
Yep.
But now this brings to light, because people go, his in-laws, why is he part? What do these people have to do with anything?
Right, exactly.
And so it brings out the corruption that Republicans will be able to pound on, now for the next couple of years about what Democrats will accept,
right,
and what the media will accept. And it's interesting because, we've talked about the fact that this was really the first election where what the mainstream media had to say didn't matter.
Right, yeah.
And it's been going down for a significant period of time. And now that they keep reacting in the exact same way, I saw no change in the media and their coverage of Trump. None.
Right.
I saw no change in the media and their coverage of the corrupt Biden family at all.
Right.
And so they're not going to change, which means less of an audience, less of an audience, less of an audience. And it's going to be interesting to see when you have the first White House press conference at the White House, and I mean the presidential the presidential press, not the president's press conference, but his spokesperson. Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
the daily briefing,
the daily briefing. It'd be interesting to see who's up front, and who they're now allowing in,
right?
Because they said there's going to be a change. And the change is coming because, not that I expect Joe Rogan to be at the front, but should Joe Rogan be there before NBC, ABC, or CBS when his audience is so much greater than any of the liberal networks?
Right. Right.
Now, I don't believe he's going to be up front. I'm simply asking the question with the podcasters who have a much, much bigger audience. Well, that's what you're looking for, right?
Right. Well,
who's America paying attention to?
That's it. I mean, the collective content creators that are out there, there's the influence. That's what people are actually moving toward and have been for a while. The media is the traditional media on television, cable news and nightly news is dying. You're seeing that over and over again. Their influence has been going for a long time. And we've talked about that. We had debates with our listeners. We said, look, we actually said it before Elon Musk. You have the ability to go find the stories and find the truth now more than ever. That's not something you're limited by anymore with technology and the countless sources that are out there. And you have to be careful and considering the sources. You have to do your homework on those sources themselves. And some of those sources you may trust, but can be wrong at times. Those are things you and I deal with, and much of our audience deals with. But the average person that doesn't follow it, isn't the walk, now has that ability. And I think has been more active. I think that's why you saw, because they became desperate about, all right, how am I going to pay my bills? Who's going to change this? Who's going to help me get to where I'm at? Who's going to fix the border? Who's going to bring crime down in my city? Who's doing anything about this? Who wants to do anything about this? You know, Trump, this time around in 2016, you had been saying all along during that year, he recognized the problems. He acknowledged all those problems. The Wall Street Journal, the day after the 2016 election, goes into Harlem and asks people, why do you think he won and Hillary lost? And the common thread in those answers was, well, he was talking about things here at home, and she was talking about things elsewhere. And so basically, she wasn't acknowledging the problems, everything we're going through. All right. And now you fast forward to 2024 and that election cycle. And the fact of the matter is everything was broken. Reality was delivering the truth to people in sometimes a harsh way that they couldn't actually ignore. You didn't have to be a wonk because your news was the reality of inflation, the economy,
right,
being underwater, the broken border. You were seeing that in cities all across America. You were seeing higher crime. You were seeing the radical transgender movement at work trying to take over the kids' classrooms.
But that's one of the things. There was so much focus on stuff like that instead of getting to inflation. And then they were denying the problems that existed out there that they created.
Right.
Because the border and inflation, they created. That was a creation of government.
Right.
And what's their answer? Men in women's private places.
Right. Exactly.
And that I actually got that from, there was a focus group that we had played. This goes back a couple of months when they talked about that. There's all these problems, and they're talking about trying to justify men being in women's bathrooms.
Yeah.
What the hell's going on? What
Yeah.
are their priorities?
Right.
To begin with, their priorities seem to be completely, outside of any type of common sense or logic as to what Americans are facing.
Right. And it became bizarre. It's like, who is running the agenda show on the left? I mean, it's full on radical. It's like you said earlier, do you really want to look into the mind of the radicals? Because it's got to be a scary place based on things they have done recently. And it's becoming more and more radical by the day.
866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I'm telling you, the left hates what Biden did, though, just because it makes everybody look bad. Here's Jake Tapper. All right, here we go.
With these sweeping pardons that President Biden, former President Biden now, is giving to his immediate family. Preemptive pardons for his brothers, Frank and Jimmy, to his sister Valerie, and then to, I think, a couple in-laws.
Their spouses, yeah.
And that, to a lot of people, this did not go through the regular pardon attorney, the pardon process. And Biden in 2020, when I interviewed him right after he'd been elected, had some very harsh things to say about the idea of Trump giving preemptive pardons to his family members. He said it would set a horrible precedent. Now, Trump didn't do it. Joe Biden did. And we can come back to that subject later in the day.
But why did he? Because they enriched themselves tens of millions of dollars by using his office as vice president to get money from America's adversaries to enrich his family.
Well, it's like you said, what Biden did is created a great deal of curiosity. Many people were learning yesterday that he had a brother.
Yeah, you're in.
A lot of people just didn't pay that. Everything was about Hunter. They didn't pay that close attention to everything with his brother and everything else. It's like, Why are you including pretty much everybody when it comes to your siblings here and their spouses?
Yeah, we don't even know who these people are.
Right.
Well,
what
why
did they do? How could it be so bad that you've got? I mean, like for us that were following along, it's like, all right.
Oh yeah, we know. Yeah.
You know, we know that because we know all the accounts that were set up.
Yep.
Well, I was wondering, why didn't you include some of the grandkids? You know, I mean, seriously. I mean, it was exactly as we expected it to happen. But now America's looking at that. Many Americans looking at that going, whoa, why did you do that?
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. All right, one of the funniest AI videos I saw yesterday shows Trump walking into Capitol Hill with Barron behind him, a 9-foot or 10-foot Barron walking behind him, and underneath it says, "Will the media fact check this?"
I love it. And every time they stood up, Barron like towers over everybody. Yeah.
He looks just like his father.
Yeah. 6'9".
Man.
6'9". I think he's still growing. Because, you know, during the first term, I mean, he he's just a normal kid. And then all of a sudden, I've never seen a growth spurt like this. I don't know if this is a billionaire family thing or what, but he's clearly eating all the right things. 6'9", but who knows? He might top out at 7 feet.
So the other one I saw, the other meme I saw that was just great. It said, Barron in the 2065 presidential debate.
Yeah,
being asked the first question, "Did your father win in 2020?"
Yeah, right, exactly. And it's going to be the question from now on for it'll be every Republican. It won't even be just anybody named Trump, right? It's going to be every Republican. It's there is this, and I saw so much of this on social media, this feeling of relief for so many reasons. And typically I don't feel that. It's like, okay, hold on. We got to, there's still a lot of work to be done. And you and I have talked about that. But it is a cultural shift. And the culture wars that have really been the lead agenda item for the left. This was the answer. And what Trump has coming in 2025 that he really didn't have coming in 2017 for his first term was the contrast. You had a contrast between him and Obama, but everything being broken over the last 4 years, Joe Biden just put everything in the dirt. And so this contrast on every level, it's like being in, where it's just raining for days and days and days and doesn't quit. Then all of a sudden you just have a beautiful sunny day and the clouds break.
I was wondering because, before he officially took the oath of office, they were, and I was flipping back and forth. I really couldn't stand being on some of the channels. Like I said, I ended up on Dr. Phil's Merit channel.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, Trump said it's going to be a uniting speech. And afterwards, like, that wasn't uniting. And I'm thinking to myself, because when they said that at first, I went, well, okay, united the way they view it or united the way that Trump may view it, which is, you know something? She tried to co-opt everything that I was talking about.
Right.
Everything that I believe the Democrats tried to jump on.
Right.
And as we said back then, Trump was the great uniter on the issues.
Right.
And I went, what if he's just going to throw out, here's what we're going to do? And that's exactly what he did. Let me just give you an example of what, in case you didn't get to hear the inauguration speech, part of it. Sorry, we can't play the whole thing in one setting. It's like 32 minutes long. So here we go.
I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country. Sunlight is pouring over the entire world, and America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before. But first, we must be honest about the challenges we face. While they are plentiful, they will be annihilated by this great momentum that the world is now witnessing in the United States of America. As we gather today, our government confronts a crisis of trust. For many years, a radical and corrupt establishment has extracted power and wealth from our citizens while the pillars of our society lay broken and seemingly in complete disrepair. We now have a government that cannot manage even a simple crisis at home, while at the same time stumbling into a continuing catalog of catastrophic events abroad.
And then he went on to list everything. And I thought it was great. When you look, because you had said this last hour, you said it's the contrast that people are seeing, and you could see it in the first day, just in the transparency alone. Trump got out there and laid out, here's what they did, here's what I'm going to do.
Yep.
Very clear, very transparent.
Yep.
Then, he spoke throughout the day about more things that he was going to do and what he didn't like, pounded on the last administration, and then a 90-minute press conference.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the one thing that got out of it is, this is what we're going to do. And you and I have always said this as conservatives/libertarians. You don't have to hide what you believe.
Nope.
The things that we believe, the majority of Americans believe.
Right.
You only have to hide it like Biden did and Harris did. You only have to hide it if you don't believe that the American public thinks you're sane, because forget about agreeing or not. Where the Democrats stood on so many issues was insane.
Yeah.
The open borders is insane. And they would try to mask it with, well, what we're looking for is comprehensive immigration.
Yeah.
Close the border.
Right.
And then we can talk about legal immigration. If your whole thing is comprehensive immigration reform, which you wish to talk about legal immigration, fine. We can do that. But you're not confronting what the actual problem is. And the difference is, in 2016, Trump, as we had said way back then, Trump got in because he identified the problem and people were convinced that he was serious about fixing it. Now, 4 years later, we all know what the problems are. He identified what the problems are and then has laid out the solutions.
Right.
So he's gone a step further.
Right.
And he did it in a day. I mean, the contrast you could see in a day, but I will tell you, it was powerful when he was just blasting the Democrats.
Yeah.
And they were just sitting there.
Right.
And it wasn't over-the-top rhetoric. It's this is what you did.
This is what you did, and this is what I'm going to do. And it was important to draw that line, because here's what does not work anymore for anybody. I don't know that it ever worked. But politically, you would hear the wah, 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 we'll all come together. I'll be the president for everybody, blah, blah, blah. I want to thank everybody. And now, I'm going to be best friends with Michelle. And it's all, no. No. What is the difference? What is happening today? What's happening right now? What's happening is you sent me here to do these things. We won with these groups, and he pointed that out. We won. We got the popular vote. And this is what you sent me to do, and I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. And I'm going to tell you I'm going to remind you what they were responsible for. because it's important to build that contrast, to draw that line from minute one, but also to remind people these are the things, this is the mess I've got to clean up.
Yeah.
This is what we're going to have to clean up, and it's going to start right away. But this is the heaping, steaming pile left behind by Joe Biden. And that's and then you look at everything, and from the morning, my gosh, actually since Election Day, this guy's in charge. I've said it before, he owns the room. When Trump walks in a room, he owns the room. But I don't care whether you voted for him or not. There is no question as to who's in charge of this country right now. And we've had that question from the beginning, from Joe Biden since January of 2021.
My biggest fear has, which we now know is true, Biden wasn't running the White House.
No.
We'll play that audio coming up here from Mike Johnson over the weekend.
Right.
That was frightening
just
as hell.
Well,
he didn't even know what bills he was signing at all.
Right. And then tried to say he didn't sign them. He's trying to deny that he did something, wasn't aware that he did it. And Johnson saying, I don't think he was lying in that moment. He clearly didn't know. He said, I think he was being, because you can tell the difference between, I didn't do that. That's just that wasn't it. Mike Johnson was saying, I don't think he was lying in that moment. He believed in that moment that he didn't do that.
We'll have that audio coming up far in the bottom of the hour. But that was absolutely, we knew it already.
Yeah.
We knew it. We knew other people had to be running behind the scenes what he was doing, that he actually wasn't making the decisions.
Right.
And if he was making the decisions, many of the times he wasn't coherent enough to even understand it. What was it? Was it Ukraine? I forgot whether it was Ukraine or whatever. I forgot what it was about. And you and I said about war. Do you think that Biden actually, looks, as you look at a map of a war going on,
right,
and he actually understands what's going on in the war,
right?
When you see Hamas and how spread out they are,
right,
and how many attacks, you think he sat down and for 45 minutes to an hour went through, okay, what is this group doing over here, and this group of Hamas? We said he's completely clueless,
and then
he
we
has
found
no
out
idea
from the Wall Street Journal report. All those sources that they had that told him he's not even making all the daily briefings.
Yeah,
Jake Sullivan is the guy in those daily briefings, and it's like, well, who's calling the shots?
Before we even get to the insanity of where he was leading this country based on the issues, obviously he wasn't even in charge. Who the hell was making the decisions for the United States of America? Who in that panel was doing it? And that's the same thing I thought. You think Biden sat there and for the last 4 years going, doggone it, the last weekend I'm in, I'm going to come out with the proclamation that the Equal Rights Amendment is officially ratified.
Right. Yeah.
You think he came up with that? Or is that somebody on his staff?
That sounds like somebody who has no idea how any of this works.
Yeah, that's somebody on his staff.
Yep.
You think Biden's going to go, okay, I got to make sure I come up with the Equal Rights Amendment in the last weekend?
And then they prop him up to do the speech, to make the announcement.
And the thing is, the Democrats knew it.
Yes.
And they allowed it to happen.
Yep.
They allowed this country the possibility of being in a crisis where you had somebody who did not know how to respond, and the media and the Democrats were okay with it. That's beyond politics.
Right.
That you didn't have, we talk about the chain of command. We didn't even have the command. There was no chain to start.
Right.
The command wasn't in command.
Right. Which means people with no authority to do so were making decisions.
Yep.
My gosh.
Wow. It was weekend at Biden's.
Yeah, it really was. Sunglasses and all.
Yeah. I mean, it's just and when you think about that, I mean, just how, and that's always been in the back of my mind. We've talked about it before. We talked maybe a year ago,
right?
Maybe even further. We talked about it. We go, that's absolutely frightening.
Yeah.
The possibility that he's not in charge and now we know nobody's really debating it.
Right. No.
All those stories about nobody's debating it.
Well, that story from the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah.
I didn't see anybody come back and try and shred that and try and, tear that apart and tear that down. That actually was the point where you saw the liberal activist media go, well, maybe we underreported the whole thing. Because they knew what the Wall Street Journal was reporting was accurate.
Yep.
And something we all knew, everybody looking at it. And again, over and over again, the left and his administration, now the former, thank God, administration and staff telling you your eyes don't see, and Joe Scarborough will throw in F you if you can't handle the truth. They wanted you to believe that your eyes were lying to you.
Were you here last week when I played the audio from Scarborough? Saying,
some of it, yeah.
I must have missed it.
Yeah.
I guess
we
I
played
missed
that when I was here.
Okay. I just didn't see it.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Shut up.
You just didn't see it.
Trying to build some cred again, It's like nobody buys it. They didn't buy it when you and Mika went down to Mar-a-Lago. They don't buy it now. Nobody's buying you anymore. Oh, literally, they will be buying your network. Somebody's going to buy it because it's for sale for a reason.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Uncompensated detention at docks frustrates drivers of all stripes. If you're an owner-operator, you have at least some control over the matter. Make the subject a standard part of your rate and/or contract negotiations on the front end. You can use your own numbers to calculate an hourly rate to compensate for lost income opportunity, as well as fixed costs, which don't stop when the truck stops. Those two elements of a fair detention rate were deemed appropriate by most of Overdrive's audience almost a decade ago. We've used income, fixed costs, and miles average of our owner-operator business services from ATBS's clients to compute an average $64 an hour detention rate then. And 10 years later, the figure is $83 an hour. Use your own numbers to calculate your rate. A simple conversation with any broker or shipper, or your carrier if you're leased, about what you're putting in the rate might yield results you don't expect. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics.
Brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Hey, big week of football. Congrats to Ohio State winning the national championship last night. You have the AFC and the NFC championships coming up this weekend. The last four teams that are in, including the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Philadelphia Eagles are in. The Eagles, EAGLES.
Uh-huh.
And this is Philadelphia Mayor Sherelle Parker at a rally spelling out Eagles.
Oh.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go.
Let me hear you all say, E-L-G-S-E-S, Eagles! Let's go, Birds!
We'll do it one more time. How do you spell Eagles?
Let me hear you all say, E-L-G-S-E-S, Eagles!
ELGSES, Eagles.
Elgsis. Elgsis.
Oh, my God.
Look, I didn't win any spelling bees when I was growing up, but that doesn't sound right. E-L. The number 2. The color green. Wow. Wow.
Go, B-E-L-L-S.
Right.
Bills.
Right. Exactly. Cowboys. Give me a J. Give me an O. Give me an N. Give me an E. Give me an S. What does it spell? Not winning. Go sports.
One more time. There's This was the best. The best sports moment over the weekend.
Let me hear you all say, E-L-G-S-E-S, Eagles! Let's go, Birds!
But
you hear the people laughing.
they're
Nobody's
laughing.
really cheering. They're like,
and they were on different letters than she was in the background. We're like, whoa, did we start late? What happened? Did we miss it? Was there a? We're in the wrong. Yeah, okay, that's the wrong team. The Elks. All right, someone's got to make that jersey now. Someone's got to print that jersey. The Philadelphia Elks.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
and he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. So I went to AI. Yeah. I went to Google. I wanted to make sure when I first saw that the story and had the video.
Right.
Of the Philadelphia mayor not spelling Eagles, not even close.
Right.
Wasn't one letter off. It was completely wrong. And when I went and put it into Google, AI came up. And it said, she spells Eagles wrong. And it said it may be due to the fact that I'm not kidding you. It says it on AI. Maybe due to the fact that it was so cold, her brain froze. it was one of the days I just just couldn't stop laughing. And since we've been talking about Biden, but we promised to play this here. This is Speaker Johnson, and he was on with Barry Weiss from the Free Press. And he had said, no, I think he's the worst president ever. And she said, you still stand by that remark. And then he goes into why he said, and this was a ways back, about a year ago, when he said, look, I go in there and he doesn't know. It's his aides. He doesn't know what he's talking. He didn't get into the specifics as he did here. But this specific is pretty scary.
I do stand by it, and I say this without any personal animus at all. I mean, in some ways, I actually kind of feel sorry for Joe Biden. I mean, he's in the twilight years of his life. He is not, obviously, has not been in charge for some time. And I know this by personal observation, and now the whole world knows it. And it's been very, very concerning to me over the last, year and a half since I've had this position.
Can you tell us a story when you say personal observation? What
well,
kind of
I mean,
thing did you see?
it's public now because the Wall Street Journal got it and put it on the front page. But January a year ago, almost exactly a year ago, I had been asked. I became Speaker in October 2023, and there were all sorts of big national security concerns and everything going on. And I started requesting a meeting with the president because I'm kind of old school. I'm a constitutional law guy. The Speaker of the House should be able to talk to the president, especially in times of great national interest and calamity. But they wouldn't let me meet with him, and his staff kept giving excuses. This went on for like 8 or 9 weeks. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, he doesn't have time. What are you talking about? I'm second in line of the presidency. He has time. I need to talk to him. We had, I can't say the classified parts, but we had some big national concerns at the time that I was losing sleep over. Finally, I just went to the Hill Press Corps and I said, the president is not being allowed to meet with the Speaker. There's a problem. So they started putting pressure on him. Long story short, they finally relented. They invited me to the White House. I show up and I realize it's actually an ambush because it's not just me and the president. It's also Kamala Harris, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem, the CIA director, everybody. And then, so I walked in the Oval and, I know what this is. They're going to hotbox the Speaker on Ukraine funding. That's what it was. This is probably third week of January. We sit down, we're in the midst of it, and the whole conversation, and I'm going, we don't need to have this conversation. The president reaches over just like this. We're sitting right next to the fireplace in the Oval, and he grabs my arm and he says, the Speaker and I just need a couple minutes together. Would y'all just leave us alone? And I looked up on the faces of some of the staff standing around the wall, and they're like, oh, no, he did it. So he called it. He's the commander-in-chief. So everybody leaves, and he and I are standing awkwardly in the middle of the Oval Office right over the rug by that coffee table. And I said, Mr. President, thanks for the moments. This is very important. I got some big national security things I need to talk to you about that I've heard and I think you know, and what do we do? But first, real quickly, Mr. President, can I ask you a question? I cannot answer this from my constituents in Louisiana. Sir, why did you pause LNG exports to Europe? Like, I don't understand, liquefied natural gas is in great demand by our allies. Why would you do that? Because you understand, we just talked about Ukraine. You understand you're fueling Vladimir Putin's war machine because they got to get their gas from him, And he looks at me stunned with this, and he said, I didn't do that. And I said, Mr. President, yes, you did. It was an executive order, 3 weeks ago. And he goes, no, I didn't do that. And he's arguing with me. I said, Mr. President, respectfully, could I go out here and ask your secretary to print it out? We'll read it together. You definitely did that. And he goes, oh, you talk about natural gas. Yes, sir. He said, no, you misunderstand. He said, what I did is I signed this thing we're gonna conduct a study on the effects of LNG. I said, no, you're not, sir. You paused it. I know. I have the export terminals in my state. I talked to those people this morning. This is doing massive damage to our economy, national security. It occurred to me, Barry, he was not lying to me. He genuinely did not know what he had signed. And I walked out of that meeting with fear and loathing because I thought, we're in serious trouble. Who is running the country? I don't know who put the paper in front of him, but he didn't know.
That was so alarming to listen to. I first read it when that story came across over the weekend. Not surprising, but every time you see something like this and you couple that with the Wall Street Journal story that showed that he's not even attending the daily briefings. And we were asking that question. It started really with the end of his run for re-election. If he's not capable of running, he's not capable of serving. And that was a full stop. There was no way around that. And they built this weekend, as you call it, weekend at Biden's scenario where Jake Sullivan and others, Jake Sullivan, it was said, was the one attending the briefings, but others are who have no authority as commander-in-chief are clearly making calls, and Biden doesn't even understand what he has done on key moves here when it comes to national security. That is mind-blowing and frightening, and they're all part of it. You can't do that without everybody being in line. You heard what he said there. He shows up and he thought, oh, I'm going to get hotboxed here. Everybody's here. Because they had to protect that. They had to build that wall, we've been saying. Clearly had to build that wall around Biden to protect him from, in this case, the Speaker of the House, but also the media and anybody else who would find that out. We were seeing it. We knew it. Everybody saw it. You saw it on the debate stage if you didn't see it before. There was a reason he dropped out. There was a reason he couldn't finish. And it put this country at great risk for all of that time. I believe going back to the beginning of his presidency.
And the Democrats knew it.
They all knew it.
They all knew it. They were okay with it.
Yep.
Until they weren't.
There was so much evidence. These were not gaffes. This is not a gaffe. We can talk about gaffes if you want to go back to George W. Bush. Obama had a few. Every president does. These aren't gaffes. This is somebody who, in terms of his cognitive state, had serious issues, and I can't tell you what those were, but he wasn't capable of leading as commander-in-chief and shouldn't have been in office.
And that's why I think it was important yesterday for Trump to be talking constantly. You want that message sent that I'm in charge of the executive branch of the United States. And he did. And I think that Trump did exactly what he had to do. Soon as he walked up to the podium, and he was talking in that lower voice, I went, this is going to be serious. And what he did was he talked about, America's potential. And He didn't blame America. This wasn't a Jimmy Carter malaise speech.
Right.
It was America's great. The people you put in power are horrible.
Right.
Who you would put in power.
Right.
Who you put in the executive branch. The things that they did, were worked against the best interests of the United States. The same message that we have thrown out over and over again. It isn't as if these organic problems are coming up because there's just challenges in your life. Like we all experience every day, challenges come up and we have to deal with it. We didn't cause it.
Right.
But then there's a person that causes their own problems.
Right.
Biden and the Democrats caused the problems. I'm in to fix it.
Right.
And that was as crystal clear as you could possibly get. So, of course, the media was going to hate it and Democrats were going to hate it. But he went point by point by point by point. When he said there are two genders, you could not get more blunt.
Right. Yep. It was very clear and direct. And again, the stark contrast of not knowing who was in charge for the last 4 years ended today, yesterday now, and there's no question whether you voted for him or not who's in charge.
Right. When it got to be 12, I went, whew, okay, good.
Yeah, me too.
Because that's something that you and I have talked about for a while, sitting in the back of our minds. Who the hell is running the presidency? Because and it wasn't after the debate. We were asking the question way earlier.
Right.
He had major problems. The fact that he could not answer any questions, the fact that he turned his back and would walk away and then say things like, they told me
I can't,
Right. They told me I can't take questions.
Right.
The whole thing, the whole damn thing should have been crumbling down at that point. The first time he said, they told me I can't take questions.
Right.
Because Democrats didn't care whether Biden was in charge or not.
Nope.
They didn't care if he was a figurehead and unelected people. The people that claim democracy is at stake didn't care about democracy.
Nope. No, they did not.
And that's been, I'll say one thing. Biden helped blow that one out of the water, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And the fact is, because current members of the Democrat Congress went along with it, you can still use that as Republicans can still use that as a political weapon when they come up and say it. Well, he's not. He's not president anymore. You are. Yeah, but you're the one. You enabled it. And you're still in office.
Yep.
You hid it.
Yep.
So don't tell me you care about democracy when you hid what was going on there. When you hid this and you hid that and you hid this, you don't believe in democracy. And so Biden actually gave everything, the pardons, everything that he did, gave the Republicans a massive weapon to use over the next 2 years against current Democrats in Congress.
That's the first thing I thought when I saw the pardons. It was like, right as expected, right on time, right as expected, and it's a gift for the GOP, and they need to use it at every step. We talked about this for a while, that what the Democrats clearly were afraid of, all of them inside the Beltway, was this whole thing imploding because the problem is it falls on everybody who helped prop him up. We've been saying that for years, and they're scrambling. When he had to pull out of his reelection bid, they were scrambling because what do? And they kept propping him up and made it worse for them because their legacy now is you helped do that. You created that false government. You helped to put and allow people who had no authority make these decisions.
I said it last week. I'll say it again. If somebody's going to become very rich,
oh man,
because the first person to write a book, who really was in charge, that'd be the book. Who was really in charge? Who was really Who was really in charge? The disaster of the Biden administration, and who was really calling the shots.
Exactly.
You can even have it as a sourced book.
Oh yeah, I think you could. I'd buy it.
So it doesn't have to be somebody inside the administration.
Right.
It can be somebody, an author.
Yeah.
Who goes to all the sources inside.
Right. Yeah, could be. Look, if the Wall Street Journal put it together, you've already got a lot of the work already started in that regard.
Yeah. Well, one of the Wall Street Journal. Yeah, that'd be it.
I'd love to see that.
Or Miranda Devine.
Oh man, I'd read that so many times. Yep. I'd have so many questions. I'd be on it from day one.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. AOC, still a few hours ago. That was a Nazi salute. It was a Nazi salute from Elon Musk. Nazi salute, Nazi salute.
Yeah.
So just going through X, it's like, I'm an expert on Nazis, and that was a Nazi salute.
Yeah.
It's like, shut
Yeah.
Yeah, because when you're talking about your heart, you have put your hand over your heart.
Right.
That indicates a Nazi salute.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I mean, they just can't. Eric, the first thing I thought of, they're so reactionary, they can't change. They're just so reactionary.
No, they really can't. There is no changing the nature of the beast of the activist left and the radical left. There is no changing that.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you.
How's everybody doing today? Well, at least we know who's in charge.
We do.
Right.
Thank God.
We do know that. Whether you like Trump or you don't like Trump,
we know.
You know who's in charge at least.
There are no questions. You know, that's the biggest thing. There was such a stark contrast. It really started before Inauguration Day, but it started before noon on Inauguration Day. Certainly, with everything going on, it was like they're following everything, and everything else. And then, on his way out the door, he pardoned his family. Yeah, of course, we expected that. But with following Trump, you look at it, that's the difference. We haven't been for 4 years in a place where you could say, I know who's leading the country. I know who's in charge at the White House. And having this 4 years, I would rather we have not gone through it. I would rather we had not experienced everything we've experienced. But the fact that we did during the Biden administration is going to reset, I think, for a long time. Not only that kind of approach, with someone like a Joe Biden, but also their agenda. There's a reset on their agenda. Not that they're going to stop. I think AOC is moving to have the lead singer of the Village People arrested for impersonating a police officer. I mean, they're full on over the edge.
Well,
and this is where, this is.
Did you see the picture of the Native American.
Yeah, also doing a Nazi salute.
Double Nazi suit, because both hands were in the air.
Both hands in the air.
Yeah, that was just...
Or he might be forming the Y in the song YMCA. There could be that. My gosh.
Well,
again,
let's get the ADL on this.
Yeah, exactly.
Now they have exonerated Elon Musk. They said, well, no, it was obvious in the context he was talking about his heart.
Right.
It's like,
exactly.
I mean, they've just gone nuts. But as you noticed, in fact, I've got an audio cut coming up here in just a little bit. One of the protests, we're going to be communist. That's some of the not a lot of protest at all. Michael Schellenberger talks about it, and he says morally that the reason it's just not politically, but morally, America agrees with Trump. I would put it in the way that on the issues, America agrees with Trump. Yeah. And he writes here, he goes, Donald Trump's inauguration triggered millions to take to the streets to protest. 2025? No, 2017. There was no comparable response to Trump's inauguration today. Al Sharpton spoke at a rally in D.C., a few hundred protesters in San Francisco. There were only tiny protests in London, Switzerland, and Panama.
Well,
it's not as though there's been no resistance at all. Thousands protested Trump 2 days ago in Washington. Lawsuits have already been filed against Trump's proposed Department of Government efficiency. And Nancy Pelosi, AOC, and Ilhan Omar boycotted the inauguration. But those are tiny blips compared to 8 years ago. Some of them, like the London and Panama protest, had to do with marginal issues like climate change and the Panama Canal, not fears of authoritarianism or fascism. The San Francisco protest was tiny by that city's standards. A collective scream by San Franciscans underscored how fringe anti-Trump protesters were even there. And that smattering of tiny and fringe protest is completely disproportional to the rhetoric that was leveled against Trump over the last 8 years. Democrats and the media said Trump was the second coming of Hitler. They said he was racist and fascist. They said Vladimir Putin controlled him thanks to a sex blackmail operation that involved Russian prostitutes urinating on him. They had Trump supporters who they said Trump supporters were terrorist adjacent.
Yeah.
And tried to overthrow the government. Today, not so much. Mostly, not so much. Mostly, Democrats and the media mewed. I'm miserable, said CNN's Van Jones. I'm sad, I'm frustrated, I'm mad at everyone. Some of the words he used sounded strong. He's going to unleash this blitzkrieg of attacks on everything that we care about. Immigrants, clean energy, said Jones. But he did so softly and with laughter, not fearful shouting. Trump is in the process of signing executive orders that will effectively end much of the Democratic Party's agenda. He will require that the U.S. government only recognize two genders. He will stop all offshore wind development and withdraw the U.S. from the United Nations Climate Agreement. He will end government censorship. So why aren't the Democrats up in arms? Why aren't there mass protests against imminent fascism, climate apocalypse, and trans genocide? Because a majority of Americans never believed it to begin with.
Exactly.
I'm adding that in there.
Yeah, well, no, and that is the truth. Because that's it. You know, there has been, remember the man on the street approach to the whole transgender thing, and it was, you know, the guy would ask, well, do you think I can be Chinese if a 9-foot Chinese man if I say I am? Well, no, I mean, no. And the thing is that the left had, really, if you think about it, they had manipulated people into to the extreme that silence is violence. Not only do you have to allow us to march and and do our protests, you've got to be a part of it. We're going to force you to do this. So there was all of that, and this intimidation has gone on for years and years and years. So they thought they were getting away with their agenda items, and Americans were going, just kind of, you know, halfway smiling and nodding their head, yes. But the real story is that people didn't buy what they were selling, just as you said. They weren't buying it. If they did, the election of 2024 wouldn't have gone that way. It would have been all Kamala. Yes, there's still tens of millions of people who are willing to vote that way, but the fact of the matter is there were enough of Americans, and this is a massive shift of from where we were to where we are. Trump mentioned it in his speech. Perhaps the greatest political comeback in history.
Oh, yeah.
That's when you look at the swing of where we are, what they wanted you to believe about him, which was garbage from day one, over and over again. All of it ended up being, and this is, by the way, I still don't think we've properly vetted the Russian collusion hoax. I think there's a lot of people that still have a lot to learn on that. We talk about, all the leftists who have said, well, I've learned about, everything, Michael Rappaport and others who have said, I've learned about all the lies they were telling about him. Well, how many of those even know the details of how the left, the Democrats, the Hillary Clinton campaign, the Democrats put together that entire hoax and got it to the point where they had Robert Mueller assigned as a special counsel during Trump's first term. I think there's so much that's going to be divulged. Trump putting out there also that, the assassinations of JFK and RFK, that information would be released and all of those things. Well, there's a lot, I believe, that's going to be learned by the American people.
You saw the tweet from Rachel Vindman, Alexander Vindman's wife.
Yeah.
That started the whole Ukraine thing.
Right.
And you notice how, all the Republicans were on it. Oh, for the Biden family, it goes back to 2014.
Right.
That's when the whole Ukraine thing started.
Right.
He's scared to death. He didn't get a pardon. He's scared to death because he started the whole thing. And we now know why Democrats impeached Trump the first time.
Right.
He was getting too close to the Biden corruption in Ukraine.
Right. And that's when that phone call to Zelensky and that CIA officer who was assigned to Biden when he was vice president on Ukraine and went to Adam Schiff's office with that information on that phone call because they realized he was way too close. Trump was way too close to the fire at that point.
Yep.
And that's how that happened. Nancy had been saying for months, remember, no impeachment, no impeachment, no impeachment, no impeachment. Adam Schiff's office gets that CIA officer visiting who was one of those, the call was populated by a number of people, including that, again, CIA officer who was assigned to Joe Biden when he was vice president, and the assignment was on Ukraine. They got way too close, and now I'm confident, if not only hopeful, that Trump will let this information out. Let the American people see all of the truth and the proof behind the truth.
Well, I know Republicans are going to look. They're still going to look into all of this, and I think one of the reasons I'll look into that one is, and the reason Vindman's scared is because they want to expunge the impeachments.
Right. Yeah.
And as we said, the first one's a slam dunk.
Yep.
Because that was, now that you sit back and look at it, Trump was getting too close to the corruption of the Biden family.
Yep.
And by Biden pardoning his entire family, because people are asking, well, I saw it on X. Well, Hunter, yeah, but why his whole family? What does his family do? They don't even know.
They don't know.
They don't even know that the Biden family was enriched tens of millions of dollars. They don't even know about the LLCs that were set up in order to basically funnel money through. Well, you set up the LLC to funnel/launder money through.
Exactly.
And bank accounts set up to go into different family members.
Yep.
All of a sudden, boom, that's back in. And there's a lot of Americans going, well, what's this about? Well, Republicans may want to tell you what that's about.
Right. Exactly.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Talking about, the Michael Schellenberger column that we read part of it that said, where are all the protests? He said, well, the problem is the majority of America agrees morally with Trump, not just politically. I'll say this, we said they agree with him on the issues, but I think it's more than that. This is the first election. And you and I said this, 2 years ago? This is going to be because of inflation and everything else, the border, and then what Governor Abbott did. Wow, did you see the president? He really likes Governor Abbott.
Yeah.
See how much time he spent talking with him yesterday?
Yeah, it was great.
But because of Governor Abbott, and Governor Abbott did not, he did. It wasn't the state of Texas that gave the option for migrants that the Biden administration, gave temporary status to. He didn't send most of them around the country. The federal government did. But
Right.
the fact is that made it where it became a real issue all across America.
Yeah.
Every town became a border town.
Yep.
What happened, I believe, is not just they agree with Trump, but they agree with Trump because their own personal self-interest has been affected by inflation, and they could see the illegal immigration open borders policy of what Biden wanted now affected their community.
Right. Well, and that's it. Reality brings a whole different perspective from it. And Governor Abbott was the biggest part of that because it was happening, as you've mentioned. The federal government was doing that to a greater extent, but the liberal activist media was not covering it until Governor Abbott started doing that. Oh, well, look at what he's doing. Then everybody else is going, yeah, well, why are they here in the first place? Why are they coming to my city? And they didn't blame it on Abbott, by the way. Now, liberals in office in those blue states and blue cities did for a while, but then they realized, yep, America's learning. Every town is a border town, and the border's broken. And it's broken because that was the political will of the Democratic Party, then led by Joe Biden. It was his promise in 2020. Come back. If you were deported during the Trump years, come back. We want you back. At the International Bridge in Del Rio, they were asking him, why are you here? Biden told us to come back. Biden wants us here. And all of that reality is something that teaches you something that nothing else can.
I think that, and then the absolute insanity of the radical transgender movement that nobody buys into.
Yeah.
And critical race theory.
Yeah.
The racist critical race theory and identity politics. I think America has had enough of Democrats being racist.
Yep.
Through identity politics and critical race theory.
Right.
And then the misogyny of the radical transgender movement.
Right.
Just think people just had enough. I mean, tell me those are issues. Where's the sanity in any of those issues?
Right.
Trump said it again yesterday. I believe in legal immigration. We're going to need it.
Right. Yeah. Right. But we're closing the border. You're not going to just be able to come across. We're not, and the whole catch and release policy is done. That was part of his statement. That was part of his speech.
Mm-hmm.
We're done with that. And it was also telling, I didn't expect that Kamala and Biden were going to stand up when he had, a standing ovation for a number of those items on his agenda. Of course they're not. But also, and this is the conundrum they're in. You can't stand up. This is why it was great to do this right there and then, with them sitting there. They couldn't stand up. What are they going to do? Yay, he's gonna fix what we broke.
I was really wondering if some of them were going to walk out. I was like, they're going to walk out.
Yeah.
They're going to walk out.
Yeah, right.
That kept me, because I've heard the speech before.
Yeah.
I know
yeah.
what he's going to do.
Right.
But what kept me totally mesmerized, I was staring at
Yeah,
Biden and Harris
me too.
going, they're going to move?
Yeah.
They're going to move?
Right.
They're going to move?
Right.
They're going to move? Ooh.
Right.
Wait a minute. Now I sound like Hulk Hogan.
Well,
Ooh,
yeah.
brother.
Yeah.
By the way, he was doing that again last night on Fox. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I've had enough.
Yeah, okay, brother.
Yeah. I've had enough of WWE, okay?
Fetterman in the By the way,
I
I'd
do
watch
like
it.
that
I'd
idea.
watch it. If Fetterman
Fetterman?
got out of the
Yeah.
Senate and joined the WWE, I'd probably tune in. But that was telling. Again, drawing that contrast from minute one right there in front of the old regime. It was everything you wanted to hear and see, because there needs to be that very clear line. Those days are over. What they were doing is over, and we're going to have to clean up what they did.
Yeah. I mean, it was absolutely crystal clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which really nobody in the media wished to address.
Nope.
As
No.
we've said, if you stick to the issues,
Yep.
if you hit the 5 or 6 major issues out there
Yep.
and you pound it relentlessly,
Yeah.
the media can't attack you on
Right.
the issues.
Nope.
They know, they may say the majority of America is wrong. Well, then what's right?
Yeah.
What are you saying is right? Is inflation right?
Right. Yeah.
You're going to try to sell that one again?
Right.
Inflation's transitory.
Right. Yeah.
It's actually good because people are spending more money.
Yeah. An open border is good.
Yeah.
I mean, not going after criminals is good.
Right.
Where do you go with it?
We like naked males in women's locker rooms.
Right. There's no problem there.
Probably a hard sell.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks so much for being here. So I guess the question is, because now Republicans are in power. They have the executive branch. They have the legislative branch, both in the bicameral legislature. And Trump's going to pack the Supreme Court. So, no, I'm just kidding.
He's going to write the 29th Amendment and ratify it tomorrow.
Oh, God. But, so the question is, because this is the next question.
Trump and his giant son. Sorry.
The question. Take two. The question is, everyone knows, every analysis. Roy Teixeira last week, a couple of articles in the Liberal Patriot that we've quoted articles from there before that are all Democrats saying we got to moderate.
Yeah.
So here we are. Where do the Democrats moderate? How does their imagery in moderation come to the forefront?
Right.
Now, they may vote for well, let's put it this way. You saw that Marco Rubio, 99-0 in the Senate.
Yep.
Every single Democrat just voted for Hitler's Secretary of State.
Yep. Yeah.
Every single one. Now, the problem that they have, and it's a big problem, is that their leaders, if they're going to moderate, Because I do think you're going to see more Democrats siding in Congress with Republicans on some issues because they realize there's a problem.
Right. Yeah, we talked about
right.
that after the election, yeah.
So they may do that individually. For example, Fetterman.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, the two best I won't call them conspiracy theories, but the two best rumors are that there is a Democrat that's going to switch parties in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And everybody's wondering whether it's Fetterman.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, my favorite one, again, a rumor, there's no evidence of it at all, but it was the funniest rumor yesterday. And, the tabloids and stuff have picked it up, is that the reason that Michelle Obama didn't show is her and Barack are getting a divorce.
Right.
Because he's dating Jennifer Aniston.
See, I saw the divorce part. I didn't see the Jennifer Aniston thing. Like, no. Okay. All right.
I'll be there for you.
Yeah. And they're just friends. Right. Sure they are. It's not what Michelle thinks. We're going to start a rumor right now.
That's the.
By the way, if Fetterman crosses over and becomes a Republican, that means Trump has two giants. I think Fetterman's also 6'9".
But in all seriousness, they've got Schumer. Their leaders right now are Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries.
Yeah.
As liberals, you can get. They didn't change leaders.
No, and who's the most vocal one in their party right now, or has been for a while, and it's AOC. I mean, there's, it's not
screaming right,
not charged. They're not changing
No.
at all.
Nope. So even if you do get a few more Democrats voting with Republicans, that might help whatever in a congressional race, you're still going to have a split Democratic Party because, AOC, she just, she, for example, from yesterday, she can't get off Elon Musk's Nazi salute.
Yeah, right.
Which has become a joke. I mean, it's just everybody.
It really is.
It's become, Babylon. I will have to check the Babylon Bees headline before we get out. Headlines before we get out of here tonight.
Yeah.
Or this morning. But where do they change? That's the great question. How everyone knows, there isn't anybody out there. Every Democrat listening right now knows that the Democratic Party has to moderate on the issues. It's not about personalities anymore. It's not about, all we got to do is find that great personality. And let's put it this way. Your biggest personality that you thought a couple of years ago, year and a half ago, dead in the water.
Yep.
Gavin Newsom.
Yep.
So who do you got? Seriously,
I don't.
You've got who would people look at and say this person is sane? Fetterman.
It's Fetterman. Yeah, I mean, if there's anyone, it's him.
Right.
And I don't know who in 28. By the way, I'm waiting for the first sit down with Joe Biden, the first sit down interview. Somebody please ask him, hey, would you think about coming back in 28 and running again? Just to do it, just to troll.
Did you see where he said, I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going away.
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
you are.
Yeah. No, yeah, you are.
But
it's over.
Does anybody interviewing Biden is not going to get you anything?
It's
not
not
going to get you any numbers.
I don't
ratings.
think anybody wants to see it. I think everybody wanted to see what happened yesterday. Get out.
I think Democrats are happy he's gone.
Don't let him talk to the media. Right. If you want to know what Biden thinks, go interview Jake Sullivan. I mean, clearly he's been the one filling in. So, I mean, I don't know, except for the train wreck part of it. Of what he might say about his own party.
All right. Yeah, you're right.
What he might say about,
No, you're right. You're right.
I would have won.
Right.
He's already said that. We knew he was going to say that, and we were right. Here's the problem. What do you think the problem with your party is? What do they need to do to secure their future? That's the first question I'd ask him.
Well,
you
saw
say you would have won.
Well,
so give us the lead here. What does the party need to do for the future? And I'd love to hear it. I just want to, seriously.
Yeah, you're right, because if they ask him, it's a no holds bar, you know.
Yeah, right,
and,
right.
And it would be
his first sit-down interview since leaving office. Yeah.
So they kicked you out.
Yeah.
Who kicked you out and why?
Right.
Why did they kick you out? What did they tell you? Why did they tell you you had to go?
Right.
And why did you go?
Right. Why did you step down? You say you would have won. Right. Why did you step down?
It might be good.
Oh. Yeah. The Democrats don't want that. Because the problem is, we talked about a tell-all book. The problem is now Biden really doesn't care. He's never cared about his legacy. He's in it for him. So you ask him, challenge him, ask him one question in that direction, and it's very possible, maybe even likely, that he'll go off on his own party and how that whole thing went down. Oh, man, I'm begging you, somebody do that.
But that's my question, the first full day of the Trump presidency, what's the plan for Democrats to win, which means in order to win, they have to moderate.
Right.
What issue do they moderate on?
Right.
Without splitting the party.
There is no middle ground for them. They're going further in the direction they were going
Just last week, you had the House.
Yeah. Yeah.
Only 2 members crossed over.
Right.
Every single other one that voted said no, men should be in women's locker rooms.
Right.
So the misogyny continues. And when you have a party, the challenge they have, you see the leadership. We know what is mainstream now inside the Democratic Party. The misogyny, the women hatred of the radical transgender movement.
Yep.
Where whoever would have thought, except for us 10 years ago, that the Democratic Party would be saying, women, you need to get used to men's genitalia in your private spaces. Oh, yeah, let's run with that one.
Right.
That's a great one. Let's run with that one.
Yeah.
Hey, Barack, what do you think? No way.
Exactly.
But now he endorses it.
Right.
He's the one, and when he first came in, because he's the one that actually created it.
Right.
He's the one that actually, went into, but when he first came into office, would he have ever said that?
No.
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 By the time he got out, he was talking about the fact that race is a social construct.
Right. I've come to find out, I've come to learn that race is a social construct. By the way, I would have asked him a follow-up. How did you learn
that? No. There's no follow-ups allowed for any Democrat.
Exactly.
No follow-up questions.
How dare you?
But that's the problem they have. They cannot get out of the misogyny of the radical transgender movement or the racism of identity politics. And the articles last week in the Liberal Patriot that it's all Democrats writing what's wrong with the party.
Right.
Number one, identity politics, which is judging people by groups and not individuals. That's racism. How do you get them to stop that? When that's the core belief of the party.
Yep.
And as we stated, it was obvious when Biden said that the Georgia election law, which now everybody embraces, was Jim Crow on steroids.
Yeah.
Was Jim Crow 2.0.
Right.
Yeah, Jim Crow 2.0.
Right.
And which is what, that kind of language is what comes out of hate group leaders like the KKK or the white Aryan nations. You tell a lie to cause hatred between groups of people, and in this case, based on their skin color.
Yep.
And that lie got Major League Baseball to hurt a ton of black businesses in Atlanta and move the All-Star game.
Yep.
For a lie, based on a racial lie.
Yeah.
Well,
meant only to instill fear in people. Yep.
So are the Democrats, how do they change? That's what I look at. I'm like, where are they going to go? Where are they going to challenge? Because you saw the first reaction. They're looking for anything. What do we got? What do we got? We got nothing here. We got nothing. What are we going to do here? The people agree with Trump. Oh, Elon Musk, Nazi salute.
Exactly. But they've been desperate for a while. The more desperater they get, the more their radical, radicalism and radical agenda comes out. It's over and over and over again. And again, you see the headline is basically everybody was doing live updates on Inauguration Day. But when I saw this, Biden tells Trump, welcome home. Not welcome back. This time it was welcome home. Oh, man. I mean, everything was, you look at yesterday and it was a great day. But it was a great day because of the contrast laid out between the two ways of governing, but also the two ways in terms of how you're going to approach being commander-in-chief and president. Trump, from day one, has been in charge. And Biden, from day one, has not been.
And who is, when you go from the abstract on the issues to reality, as we have now,
right,
hope and change doesn't cut it.
Nope.
Who do the Democrats have? Who is that personality that can articulate the issues that Americans agree with to win in 28?
Right.
That will appear in the next 2 years?
I don't know who that would be. I don't know.
866-98 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, so who do the Democrats have? And I was just previewing some audio we're going to play here, which is Mark Halpern and Sean Spicer talking about J.D. Vance.
Yeah.
Saying, that, the Republicans do have a ton of people.
Yeah.
But they're talking about the Republican Party talking so highly of J.D. Vance. And again, who knows what's going to be, what things are going to be 2 years from now. You just don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't a fan of his pick originally.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And within a couple of weeks went, he's the guy.
Yeah, I was, I think I said at the time, all right, J.D. Vance is going to have to get out there and earn it. And he did with me and clearly did with the party, know?
But the Democrats, who do they have?
I don't know. I can't answer that question. Yeah.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Welcome. Thank you for being here, as always. All right, taking a look at some of the polling. You ready for this?
I think so.
All right, looking at age groups of CBS poll, CBS YouGov, optimistic about the next 4 years with Trump as president. 65 and plus, 51%. 45 to 64, 60%.
Wow.
30 to 44 years of age, 62% are optimistic.
Whoa.
And 18 to 29, 67% are optimistic about the next 4 years with Trump as president.
Were these Americans that they polled? Or Russians?
Well, look, in a way, it does make sense. For example, you have a lot more optimism that the president is a lot more powerful if you're younger and don't know how the system works. And you're sick and tired and you've got, you and I look at it and go, it's the rhetoric's now over. The election's over, Inauguration Day's over. I mean, the rhetoric will continue, but for all intents and purposes, the rhetoric is over, and now it's okay, you got to get the job done. And that's where it's very, very tough to move a system as big as our system and actually get things done. Now, I believe he's going to get things done on the border, which is great, because a lot of that was executive actions by Biden that Trump, can redo with executive action. Tax policy, everything else, you need to build a coalition, and you have a very small coalition right now in the House. And so that's the challenge that you face there. When it comes to international relations, though, I thought Trump gave a great answer for Israel yesterday. Do you have confidence that the deal's going to work out? No, but it's not our war; it's their war. Which means he can distance himself, but at the same time help Israel.
Right.
Which is what you want to do. But
and by the way, very consistent from a guy who's said all along and behaved this way. We're not going to be going to war. We're not going to be, we're not going to jump into war here and there. So that really is very consistent where he's been all along.
And so I'm not surprised by that because, again, young people, inflation killed young people. It just is.
Yeah.
It hit them over the head. Not that, again, as you get older, you have more wealth. But even at that point where when you think about it, 60%, at least everyone 64 and under, minimum 60% optimistic for the next 4 years with Trump as president.
Yeah.
Trump.
Yeah.
Now think about this. And I'm sure if you were watching the inauguration yesterday, when he's taking the oath, I'm shaking my head going, God, I just can't believe this. I mean, it's like,
I know.
What?
It's the comeback of comebacks.
How did this? I mean, next thing you know, the Bills will have a chance of winning the Super Bowl.
Well, slow down. Just slow down.
I had to throw that one in, didn't I? It's like it's sort of appropriate.
I'll say this: they'll win one before the Cowboys win one again.
Well, I don't know.
Then again, I'm not a Bills fan. So
we have none.
Yeah.
We'll see. Well,
yeah.
Well, the 4 teams that are left, 1 game away.
Yeah.
Yes, you've got Philly, Washington. You have the Eagles, ELGSES. Wow. Go Algexis.
Algexis. Go Algexis.
In case you're wondering, the mayor of Philadelphia did not know how to spell Eagles.
Yeah.
At a rally for she spelled it ELGSES, Eagles.
Yeah.
So you got the Eagles. You have the Washington Football Club. Oh, they got a name now? Oh, the Commanders. Okay. The Commanders.
Yeah. Those guys.
And Kansas City and Buffalo. So Buffalo plays at Kansas City this week, and Washington plays in Philadelphia, and that will decide the Super Bowl.
Wow.
Yeah. I actually watched the game yesterday.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, because I had off. I'll be asleep for the AFC Championship, and I'll be asleep for the Super Bowl. I may go to sleep earlier for the Super Bowl. Wake up.
Yeah.
If they make it, if they made it to the Super Bowl, it's like, okay, I got to stay awake for that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just, it was just over the weekend with all the games and the sports people, they just drive me crazy. They have, it's going to be 21-19. No, it's going to be 27-24. No, it's going to be. You have no clue.
You don't know. Yeah.
It doesn't matter. And that's the thing to do. I mean, well, no, not really, because in the pollsters in politics still have jobs, and they get it consistently wrong.
Exactly.
So why can't the sports people get
Right. Right. Well, I mean, look, the weather guy gets it wrong a lot, yet the climate change people have built a multi-billion-dollar industry under the guise of the world is going to end in, 10 years.
Yeah, you're right.
So you can't get the 3-day forecast right, but in 10 years, wait for it. They've been saying for decades.
Yeah, I've got a few listeners over the last 8 hours. How are you guys going to handle the snow? Is the snow? It's like, no, we're not getting any here.
No, when I woke up in the evening, it said snow ending by 10:30, and there was snow in the area, but I have to believe it was just caught on the radar.
Yeah.
And not hitting the ground.
A lot
we
of it,
didn't get it.
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
Yeah.
But what is it? You see, Houston could get like 5 inches.
Yeah.
The weird thing is, this is sort of not lake effect snow, but Gulf of America effect snow.
It really is.
Really is. So
Yeah.
really
It's
is.
the moisture coming from the Gulf.
Moisture coming
of
from the Gulf.
America.
Wait a minute. Gulf of Texas.
Gulf of Bucky's. I was waiting for him to do that. Say, you know what? I changed my mind. It's going to be Gulf of Bucky's. He sold sponsorship, forever sponsorship.
So there you have it. But I can see 18 to 29-year-olds, 67% optimistic about the next 4 years with Trump as president. For 18 to 29-year-olds, 62%, 30 to 44, 60% for 45 to 64, and 51% 65 plus. Realize, though, too, that 65 plus is still the most loyal demographic right now for Democrats. The old Democrats aren't going to. No, the strange thing is, the old Democrats don't agree with the insanity of the Democratic Party,
right?
Yet they still vote that way.
Yeah, and they still vote for him. They still support him.
That's the thing about the Democrats right now, because one of the discussions we've had over the last little bit here is, where do they go? Where do they go? And you think about, you think about the next, couple of years moving into 2028. You got J.D. Vance, and the Republican Party loves him.
Yeah.
His story is great.
Right.
I'll get to it coming up here following the bottom of the hour, the Mark Halperin interview where they talked about that, he's just loved. And they got into the thing, too, of what a great fundraiser he is. They talked about that, too, with the majority, and with business now. Business now and Trump. By the way, Trump, you notice the inauguration speech talking about construction and building and making the economy better.
Yeah.
And you and I have been screaming for the last, since 2016, one of his things should have been, I'm a builder. I build things. They destroy things.
Yep.
We build things. We don't destroy things. We create things. We create businesses. This is what I've done my entire career.
Yeah.
And people would go, yeah, it is what you've done.
Right, exactly.
And he never really...
Look, and you saw big tech on stage up there. That was the thing about it being moved inside. You got a pretty good look at who was there in support of... And big tech has been fearing, the whole breakup talk of, let's break up these large companies and everything else. But you've got Amazon, which I guess you have to throw in the Washington Post if you want to, whatever's left of the Washington Post. Under Bezos, you had Tim Cook from Apple. You, of course, had Elon Musk, but he was going to be there anyway. He's been clearly a big part of this campaign transition and now incoming administration. And then Zuckerberg. Zuckerberg getting in that lineup, and I'm thinking, this is really where it's all at. And then all the podcasters, content creators. It was the thing for big industry. If you think about these big companies, you want this expansion. I think Bezos tweeted something about it, posted on Next, basically the economy in America and everything else, that bringing, all of this back. This is where everybody wants it to be. Gone, at least for now, is this misdirection of corporations to all of a sudden jump in bed with the protesters. We said from the beginning, you're not going to appease these people. They're only going to, show up and do a shakedown. You're going to have to fund them, and you're going to have to keep funding them, or you're going to be the enemy eventually. And whatever happened to lead to this point, the bottom line is this is pro-economic administration coming in, and they will all, which means everybody in the economy, if you're working, are going to benefit from that.
Well, but then you got what you got from Biden, and then you had the far left jumped on board this week, and then it sort of died with the oligarchy and the tech industrial complex here. Oligarchy, you've got just a few billionaires who are going to be running the government. And I tore that apart on Friday when you were gone. I said, women, an oligarchy, number one, is a small group of people that actually run the government.
Right.
Trump runs the executive branch, and nobody buys the fact that Elon Musk is running the government.
Right.
No one buys it.
Nope.
And because of Democrats and because of what they did to Trump, think about this. Think how things have changed since 2012. 12 years. A billionaire couldn't win.
Nope. In fact, Mitt Romney had, it's measured somewhere around at least like 20%, maybe far less. I think his net worth at that time was $400 million. So he wasn't even a billionaire. And then 4 years later, Trump wins.
Well, what they forget about is nobody cares whether you're a billionaire or not.
No.
It's what are you promoting?
Right.
And so when they throw out this oligarchy, you're like, well, excuse me, or the tech industrial complex, trying to relate it to the military industrial complex and what Eisenhower talked about in the 50s about the military industrial complex, which was a completely different ballgame. That's when those defense plant companies were getting in the buildup, the buildup to the Cold War, we're getting 10% of GDP.
Yeah.
And so the military industrial complex was the influence because of the massive government money going to these defense plants.
Right.
That's where the fear was, is that, that they would be in control of it. Well, now, as we know, as a percentage of GDP, defense spending is way down compared to where it was in the 50s, probably goes between 3 and 5% of GDP. But the tech companies, again, the tech companies aren't getting 3% taxpayer dollars of the GDP,
right,
of a percentage of the GDP, or 5% or 10%. They're simply coming on board. What are they promoting? What's Elon Musk promoting? Free speech.
Yep.
And whether he means it or not, Zuckerberg is now in that camp promoting free speech, community notes. And so, but for the Democrats to talk about billionaires controlling it when they had way more money to spend on Kamala Harris than was ever spent to elect Trump from businesses.
Right.
And they're worried about the tech industrial complex that doesn't exist, by the way.
Right.
It's not the same. You may say, well, they could have influence, or anybody can have influence, but what are they pushing for their influence? They're pushing free speech.
Yep.
People aren't idiots.
No.
And now it's like, and they've done so much of the class warfare. They've done class warfare. They've done race warfare. They've done gender warfare. And people are just damn sick of it. It's like, show me where you stand on the issues and prove it to me.
Right. And what are you doing for me? We've been asking this for years. If you're voting Democrat, what is your party? What are they promoting that they're going to do for you? All they promoted is who we're going to punish. We're going to punish, 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 punish. Trump talks about a growing economy. Trump talks about getting back to what we do. And that helping everybody. So the left doesn't have any answers. The Democratic Party, they don't have any answers. And I told you during the break, they're going to have to come up with somebody new over the next 4 years because you and I can't be playing AOC cuts every night. There has to be some more vocal Democrats out there. We don't really want all of them to go away.
And the squad's been cut in half.
Exactly.
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller, and I'm here to share a tip on compliance, safety, accountability. Compliance, Safety, Accountability, or CSA, is the FMCSA Safety, Compliance, and Enforcement Program. Its goal is to hold motor carriers and drivers accountable for highway safety and to reduce crashes, injuries, and fatalities on our roads. CSA does this by assessing the safety performance of motor carriers and drivers based on data collected during roadside inspections, crash reports, and FMCSA investigations. Based on the data that is compiled, motor carriers are assigned a score. The carrier is then grouped with other carriers who have had a similar number of safety events. Carrier scores within the group are then ranked to determine intervention priority. Low scores are better, so carriers with the highest scores are those that are most likely to be targeted for intervention by the FMCSA. Interventions range in severity and may include warning letters, roadside, off-site, or on-site inspections, civil penalties, or operation out-of-service orders. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller & Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I'm just reading this quote here.
Yeah.
CNN's John King on Joe Biden's last-minute preemptive pardons of his family members. It's, quote, "It's just unseemly. It's a stain on his legacy," end of quote.
What?
I burst out laughing. I go, stain? No, the legacy is a stain.
That's all it is.
You just put a stain on a stain.
That's all it is.
As if there was this pure white legacy.
Right.
And this came out of nowhere. This is unseemly.
Right.
How did this happen?
I can't believe he did that.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Joe?
Yeah.
Did this?
What did I miss? Did we underreport it?
Well, you know something. John King probably has no idea about the Biden family influence peddling. So he's like, why would you just pardon all the family?
Right.
As the liberal media seems to be clueless on that.
Right. Yeah. And the fact of the matter is, they helped build the wall around the Bidens.
Yeah, exactly.
The Biden family, Joe Biden, and his cognitive issues and everything else. They helped cover it up.
Catch all 5 hours of the show live every night on the Red Eye Radio app. Available in the App Store. Red Eye Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. One of the things we've talked about is yesterday the contrast that you could see between Trump and Biden over the last 4 years. And it was huge.
Yeah.
And not only could you see it and feel it, he talked about it in his inauguration speech. He pounded on it and talked about, that he's going to be the president of common sense. And this country is going to be the country of common sense. And then went on to say, this goes, this goes, this goes, this goes. And it was very, very effective because he kept it very issue related, which is his strength. That's a huge strength for Trump right now. Scott Jennings also talked about it on CNN
Well, watching Donald Trump's day today, I'm just struck by the fact that we have a president again. I mean, look at this guy's day. 3 speeches, 196 executive actions, holds a 90-minute press conference narrating each one as he goes along. I mean, Joe Biden could not and would not offer the kind of transparency or vigor to the American people that we got here on day one from Trump. And tonight, Trump's going to throw on a tux and go to 3 balls. I mean, he's having an active day. I think it's going to be a massive amount of contrast here for a presidency like what we're going to see out of Trump and versus what we've had out of Biden. I was watching Trump today, and Van and I were talking earlier today, watching him walk down the hall of the Capitol, and the words that came to mind to me were gritty, resilient, determined, and audacious. There's not like a more perfect advertisement for the value of these qualities in modern America. I mean, you think about all the things that happened to him. Winning, losing, the court cases, nearly being assassinated. It's rather audacious what he has accomplished, winning this election and taking office today. And you said you were in shock. Well, Republicans are in awe.
Yeah. Well, and the one thing I've been saying about him is that Trump does not flinch. But it was important to have people around him that didn't. The problem in 2016 is that almost everybody in the GOP was flinching and had flinched for a long time. But if you look at the 2024 cycle, he surrounded himself with people, including J.D. Vance. Again, you and I were both on the fence when he announced that pick, and it was like, all right, let's see what he's got. He clearly proved himself. But all of his surrogates, these are people that don't flinch. Ramaswamy. These are people who can go out and talk the issues, boom, 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 and they don't flinch. You're seeing it in his nominees during the hearings. They don't flinch.
They don't flinch, yeah.
And that's the team he needed.
Mark Halperin and Sean Spicer on their podcast were talking the other day, and just one quote here. The Democratic Party needs a plan right now not to be wiped out of corporate donations because they don't have the momentum or the majority. That came from Halperin.
Yeah.
And then Sean Spicer said J.D. Vance is going to raise a fortune and spend a ton of time with the donor community in Silicon Valley. And, you look at, what's already happening right now. Where does when you don't have a change in the leadership, and it's been pointed out, and we'll get to it in this Democrat poll here, it's still the same leadership. It's still Jeffries and Schumer.
Yeah.
It's the same old leadership.
Yep. And the same game.
And the same game. And you look at the radical transgender movement where the president came out and said, 2 genders, that's it. And you've got only 2 of the Democrats in the House. Only 2 voted against men being in women's private places. You see how out of touch they still are.
Right.
But they were talking about J.D. Vance here. Also, Mark Halperin and Sean Spicer yesterday. Here's part of that.
Yeah. I will say another thing I picked up consistently this weekend, which I've mentioned before, the regard that people have for J.D. Vance and the role he's played and the role he's going to play is quite high. And that's even amongst people at the convention. We go back to the convention. At the convention, when it seemed like Trump was headed towards picking Vance, again, I've talked about this before, there were very full-on MAGA people, both close to Trump and not, who thought it was a horrible pick, disastrous pick. And even after he was picked, there were people who said, not so great. I don't hear any of that now. People are sky high about him and about how he's handled his portfolio so far and their expectations for him. Sean, what do you think about my reporting and analysis of your departing neighbor?
Well, he has departed. The moving vans were there.
Okay.
So and all of the barricades got pulled away.
Did they own that house or they rent that house?
Well, I assume they own it. Yes, they do. Yeah,
and I don't think they sold it, as far as I know. So
I don't believe so. I'll let you know if there's a sign that goes up or if renters move in.
Yeah.
But I will say this: I think you're absolutely right in terms of your analysis and what you're hearing. He is. I think he is the future. And the funniest thing about this is that we all know. I mean, everyone in Washington is always plotting. Well, I'll do this, and then 4 years later, and I'll run for this office, and I think JD has completely upended that because for so many people who are biding their time, trying to figure out how I can run, if he keeps going the way he's going, there's no. I mean, I don't even know that there'll actually be a primary.
Wow.
Well,
and you've got a lot of Republicans that would like to be president and are qualified to be president, could actually win the presidency. And then you look at the Democrat side and you say, okay, who are their leaders? Well, Schumer's not going to run for president.
No.
And Hakeem Jeffries doesn't stand a chance of ever being president of the United States.
Right.
And the loudest voice, as you said, there's got to be more Democrats coming forward because we've got 4 years coming up, and we cannot have the only screaming opposition to Trump is AOC.
We can't be just playing AOC audio every night on our show. We need a variety.
But when you look at the poll that I have here of Democrats, this was done, a CNN poll conducted January 9th through the 12th. 58% of Democrats and Democratic-leaning independents say that the Democratic Party either needs major changes or a complete transformation. For context, only 34% of the same figure, only 34% of the same cohort figured the party was in need of a change after the 2022 midterms. So it's gone up. Wow. It's gone up 24% in just 2 years. The percentage of Democrats who hold an unfavorable opinion of their own party is in the double digits, with 14% of respondents signaling disenchantment. When broken down into liberals, moderates, and conservatives, the Democrat Party, conservatives, there are no conservative Democrats, there are no moderates. The Democratic Party scored unfavorability ratings of 29, 40, and 71%. Wow. CNN noted that 52% of Democratic-aligned women indicated that they are angry about the political situation in America today, with less than 20% suggesting that they are alternately optimistic, fired up, inspired, or proud. More miserable than Democratic women is the party's favorability rating among all respondents. Just 33% of Americans signaled a favorable view of the Democratic Party. So, you look at that where they are right now, and that's the big question, as you and I asked a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
Where does the Democratic Party go from here? Where can they go? How do they win elections in the future when the majority of their own party, the majority, 58%, major changes or a complete transformation? Here's a question they didn't ask, though. This is what you need from Democrats, because what Democrats still haven't figured out is everything's about the issues.
Yeah.
Do they just are they looking for another personality? What does the Democratic voter want? If the Democratic voter wants secure borders, less spending, lower inflation, strong foreign policy, well, then just vote Republican.
Yeah.
What are you waiting for? What does the average Democrat, if the majority of Democrats, and that's a huge amount, 58% either want major change or a complete transformation, well, specifically, what is it? Because Democrats, as you and I have talked about, never talk in specifics when it comes down to the issues that they need to embrace. What we hear is, well, we didn't communicate effectively. Or Schumer. Well, we got into the minutia of talking about the issues, and we didn't get into talking about how they affect. Doesn't matter. People figure out what affects them themselves.
Yep.
They figured out inflation affected them.
Yeah.
You didn't have to tell them.
Right.
But you told them it was good.
Right. You tried to excuse it away as they were dealing with it.
Right.
They were already on it, and it was like Democrats were walking in and liberals were walking in their front door going, oh, no. The fact that you can't make rent and groceries, that's a good thing.
Now, we know they know what they have to do because Kamala Harris did it.
They have to change. They have to pretend they're changing.
Right. She had to pretend that we're changing. Nobody bought it, though.
No.
Why? Because Democrats have tried to sell that before. Well, I'm actually a moderate. We're actually a moderate. Obama was successful in doing it.
Right.
I have that the famous firefighter story, the guy, when I used to do my hockey workouts, and he used to do hockey workouts.
Uh-huh. They weren't figure skating workouts.
They were hockey workouts.
You can prove it?
Yeah.
Have you ever been on the ice with a figure skater?
On the same ice, shared the same ice?
Uh-huh.
Yes, I was at the other end doing my hockey workout.
And the figure skater was also on the ice, is what you're saying.
On the other side of the ice.
What did you know and when did you know it?
When I did my first twirl.
We're having our own little hearing here.
It reminds me of the movie of the figure skater and the hockey player. Every time you bring that up, every time you do that, every time I set myself up and I know what's coming next. What about the figure skating, Gary?
But
the firefighter in September of 2008.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, in September, after he said, I've been paying attention to that Obama here, and, he's really a lot more conservative than I thought. I said, when did you start paying attention? He goes, about a week and a half ago. I go, yeah, it's after the convention. He's moving to the middle. He's not.
Right.
And everybody found out that he wasn't.
Right.
But, that's what he tried to sell. They're still trying to sell it today, except for the fact that nothing is hypothetical anymore. Everything is reality.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the problem, that they have. But I would ask the party themselves, the people themselves, because that's one thing that isn't polled. They may poll Democrats like this, but they don't get into specifics. What issue would you change? What are the issues? Where is your party wrong on the issues? Because that's the only question, right?
Yep, it really is. Yep.
Unless you believe it's not issues. Unless the voters, we just need, if the media believes it and the politicians believe it, I think a significant number of the voters believe it too. Well, we're right on the issues. We just need somebody who can explain it better.
Yeah, we need somebody who can sell it.
Right. And so if that's what they believe, they're still sunk.
Because you don't ultimately win it on the issues. You really have to win it on the issues. And you've got to bring something that, when the GOP finally got it together in 24, and the message was really out there. I mean, by the time you got to convention, you didn't have establishment GOP on that stage at the convention. You had the future of the party.
Yeah, you did.
And the future of the party you saw yesterday.
Yeah. Well, here's an example. Trump come out. There are two genders, Democrats last week.
Yeah.
After the vote. Mm-hmm. Well, the reason that we're for men being in women's private places because would be in order to stop that, you have to do inspections of their private parts.
Yeah, right. And they've been telling you that your daughter needs to get used to male genitalia.
Yeah, I know. Gosh. 866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen to our podcast after our show is over in case you can't catch the entire show. And if you can't listen during the show on one of our great radio stations, you can hear all 5 hours live because we stream all 5 hours live on our Red Eye Radio app.
And thank you. We greatly appreciate everybody downloading our app. It's free, by the way.
Yes. And more than just the first 3 months, okay?
That's right. We don't come back and go.
Somebody asked me that the other day.
Paywall.
I heard you talking about it. It's only free for the first 3 months. No, I was kidding.
You're on your third free podcast.
I was
from here on out. The paywall thing.
Yeah,
that's annoying.
Yes,
you got your second of 3 free articles. I'm not coming back to thevillagepeople.com news.
The Village. I thought it was the Village Voice.
This is Red Eye Radio. on Westwood One.